this is complicated and it shouldn't be. There's 12 movies this year I want to see. I want to see them all. God, I'm getting all over the place. So anyway, let's start from the beginning. Right out of the gate, this was a really good movie. If you liked the Spider-Man, the Tom Holland Spider-Man from Civil War, you're going to like this movie. It's because that's... I said this when Civil War came out. It's like, if they just give us more of this and make it a whole movie, it'll be amazing. That's exactly what they did. In its own way, it's kind of predictable. It's like, well, we figured out what worked, and we did that thing. We figured out what worked, we figured out what people wanted, so we just gave them that thing. And they did, and it was very good. It was extremely entertaining and charming, which I didn't expect. It was charming in a way I was not expecting to see in a film. The commercials for this made it look like it was going to be like a Wes Anderson film. Like it was going to have that kind of vibe to it with ultra quirky characters and sort of that sort of setting. And it is a teen comedy. I've said this before, I'm kind of getting ahead of myself, that the best Marvel movies are the ones where they don't... In fact, most Marvel movies, now that I think about it, they're not a superhero comic book film. They're some other genre that happens to have comic book superheroes in it. It's like Thor, where you have literal ice giants and an ice dragon and thunder hammers. You know, it's high fantasy. Going through them real quick. Winter Soldier's political thriller, and so on and so forth. It's not important. So pick a good genre, throw some superheroes in it, and make a good movie with good characters and good acting. And that's what they've done. That's their MO. So for this one, it's a teen comedy. Like I said, I thought the premise was Wes Anderson, like they were going to go for that sort of vibe, and they kind of did, but it's more like a John Waters film. It's honestly, music and all. I mean, it has that sensation to it. As an aside, at no point in this film do we actually say the name Uncle Ben. I mean, they completely bypassed the Spider-Man origin story, and I think that was a very smart move. I mean, if nothing else, you can save bits of that for later and explore that with other stuff, or you can just completely bypass it. It's not necessary. At this point, we know who the fuck Uncle Ben is, why Spider-Man, blah, blah, blah. We know the backstory already. The character's been around for a little. Downsides to this film. One downside was, in a couple scenes, it's dark. And what I mean is, it's kind of hard to tell exactly what's happening. It doesn't happen a lot, but there are like 3 really short parts of other scenes. Like maybe all told, just like a couple minutes, like 2-3 minutes of this film. Like if you took them all together, put them, it'd be like 2-3 minutes where it's kind of hard to tell what's happening. Like if you saw the 3D version of this, 3D versions tend to be a bit darker, you'd be completely like, what am I looking at? God, other than that, I have no complaints about this movie. My one concern was that this would be the Robert Downey Jr. show. Like, he'd be the main character or a main character, and he's very sparingly used. All of the cameos are very sparingly used, and very well used. Every second they're on screen, they're either hilarious, like the Captain America cameos. Every one of them is hilarious. Every last one of them. Robert Downey Jr. is excellent. He's a fantastic supporting character, and he's used so sparingly. It's wonderful. Happy Hogan, like everyone who's a cameo, they're just in there for just long enough to accomplish their goal, what their purpose is, and that's fantastic. Very good use of the actors and dialogue in general. I could go on and gush, but other people have commented on that. Just on to my general review, what are the odds you'll see this and not like it? I think really fucking slim. I mean, I've said this about a couple movies this year. It has a lot of good stuff in it. So even if you don't like the superhero stuff, the high school comedy stuff, which dominates this film, there are very good action set pieces, but they're there, but there's more of the here's a kid in high school sort of stuff. There's something for everyone. The entertaining stuff, the funny stuff is funny. The action stuff is actiony. If you don't like one thing, there's plenty of the other. So the odds you'll see this and not like it are real low. I'd say less than 1 in 10, maybe even less than 1 in 20. Would I see this movie again? Yes, and in fact I did. I actually saw it Friday and Saturday. It's very rewatchable. Not as much as Guardians of the Galaxy. This movie has it's a bit more slowly paced. It's paced out differently than something like Guardians of the Galaxy, where I should explain that a little. In Guardians of the Galaxy 2, well, let's use that as an example because that's a movie that came out this year. There's a frantic pace and there's a lot of shit going on all over the place. This movie's much more focused and more slowly paced. It's not a slow-paced film, but more slowly paced than something like that, which doesn't make it as rewatchable, but you could see it again, and I recommend doing so. There's enough going on, you'll be entertained the second time around. Good film, go see it. I like I said, my only complaints were really minimal. There was a few cinematography stuff that wasn't perfect in a few places, but otherwise everything was amazing. All of the actors were amazing. Special shout out to Michael Keaton. Like, holy crap, I think he raised his voice once and yet was the best villain I've seen on Marvel. He's the best one I've seen in a Marvel movie. Like, even better than Loki. And Tom Hiddleston's Loki is more developed, more relatable, a bit more interesting, honestly. Loki's probably more interesting. This guy was just more related. This was a really good film. Was fantastic with this. The dialogue and the character he had to work with was amazing. Well thought out. I mean, it's the Vulture. It's one of the goofier Spider-Man villains, and he's fantastic. He's just fantastic. Excellent use of that character, and that actor did a fantastic job. This is like, I don't want to gush about this film. I don't want to go on about it either. Is like I said, everyone else had nice things to say about it and went into a lot of that in more detail than I will. But go see it. I recommend it strongly. There we go.